$270,000 in this
Right.
process.
Right, it'll take you
so-
8 years at
Right.
that rate.
And like the whole turf field project, I understand what you're saying, Maureen, about subcommittees and getting together and all this. Had we done that with the turf field project and let it drag out for a year or two, the project never would have even been completed. Because the opportunity to get the costs we got and everything happened quickly. So we had to go on the bandwagon, jump on the bandwagon here. This isn't something unusual that's not happening in other towns now, and cities for that matter, even cities that get federal funding, which North Reading doesn't get. So it is becoming more prevalent.
Well, you're not the first ones that thought about putting signs up.
That's what I'm saying.
We've been talking about it for years, and obviously
Right.
it hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened for a reason, because we had concerns about it. So to
I
come in and
understand
say,
that.
you know, all of a sudden now, because we have some jurisdictional control over it, it's a good idea to do it, you can understand the school committee having some reservations.
Oh, I absolutely can.
Right.
I absolutely can, and I think, that we should discuss it all together. But whatever, Marty wants to say something.
I don't think that putting subcommittees or meetings in place, drag it out to a point that it's a detriment. We have an athletic subcommittee, so we have the structure in place, Rita participates, so there's a place at that table to come and.
The athletic subcommittee doesn't vote Hillview, does it?
Oh, it certainly could, like if that's that topic, they put
Make
it
that
first
as a
on
part
the
of the
agenda,
athletic subcommittee.
when necessary,
And
if
just
it's not
if you guys
monthly,
have something to
every other month.
propose, bring it to the athletic subcommittee, we have a meeting, we should have a meeting once a month.
Because there are other collaborations that recreation will come upon, whether it's before school or after school ideas, or, any of that stuff. So while the Hillview might not attend every month, you guys might have some ideas.
What do you mean by other things that come up?
Well, you might, as Parks and Recreation, you might have other collaborative ideas that you'd like to enter into with the schools.
Oh, I see.
And that's where those brainstorming
Oh, yeah, no,
ideas
that's just really
happen.
I'm
And
gonna
that
let
we
Marty
don't
say.
get caught late in the game and we look for more time to digest it. And you guys have a deadline.
I guess I would just like to say, been working hard on this, and it turned my idea, well, I shouldn't say idea, like you said, everybody's had ideas for signs, but I've been working with the schools, really, trying to get this together, and, I see what they need. They can't have their track meets. What's gonna happen this fall when they don't have a fence? It's not secure. They're not gonna be able to raise revenues for a gate because people can walk in. I do consider ourselves blessed because I think we're way ahead of the game, first of all. I mean, when we started this, we were looking at the $2 million we were hoping to get the track and the field. We got so much more, so I think it's great. I think it's great for the town. I don't think, with all due respect, that I try to, go around go backdoor anywhere in this. I spoke to the right people at Town Hall. It wasn't anything we were trying to shove down anybody's throat.
No, but you gotta understand, Marty, your perspective and ours might be a little bit different. The perspective of the school committee regarding that facility may be different from the recreation department's perspective. So all I'm saying is, let's just, get a representative from each group, put it on the agenda, and discuss these types of things. I'm not even, again, I'm more probably inclined to, go with Karen and Mel on this and say, yeah, let's do it. But I don't want to show up down there and see all kinds of, and you telling me that, well, they're gonna be, certain size or certain color and everything else is fine, but I think there needs to be something that makes us comfortable with it as well.
And that's,
This thing has room to go crazy. I mean, with stuff all over the place down there.
I would just like to say, with the memorandum of understanding, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, but the burden came on to us to finish up this. And in this economy, where do you get it? Where do you get the money to finish this stuff?
Well, you're
And
not.
I thought I found a way where we could do this, and it doesn't have to be forever, but it was a good idea to get things done and maybe help out bring revenue back.
From your perspective, I'm sure it is. But we have other concerns that we have to think about. And again, I'm talking to you about things like graduations or like concerts or whatever other things we might have down there, where maybe this isn't the type of environment we want for an educational setting. I'm just being the devil's advocate right now. But you guys feel this is a good idea. There could be a million good ideas down there that you might have that we may not necessarily agree with. And all I'm saying is, let's work together on it. In theory, I'm not opposed to what you're saying, but I'm just saying that if you think it's a good idea, it doesn't mean everybody else thinks it's a good idea.
Marty, if I could, you have to understand, the first call was made. Marty contacted me and said, I think I have some people that would pay $1,000 for that particular advertisement out. The first thing I did is said, Marty, I said, before you talk to anybody about it, I said, look, I looked through the memorandum of understanding, I looked through everything that we had signed. The first call I made was to the chairman and to the superintendent, because that's what the policy said, assigned to the chairman, and I said, give me the names of the type of people. We understood it's not alcohol and whatever, so it wasn't like we've been kicking it around for 6 months. Marty had come up with an idea, we'd take care of that fencing, so we'd save the money, instead of putting money on fencing, we could actually sell the advertising and do it. So I believe I followed the protocol that I thought the school had set out. At that point, I thought we probably would bring it up an athletic subcommittee, because that's usually where we do it. I didn't go to 5 members of the committee and superintendent, I went to what I thought was spelled out through the school committee, through the superintendent, to follow through. And that's where we were 2 months ago. That's when it started. It wasn't discussed before that or anything else. At the time of the memorandum, we had spoken about that we had certain walkway that we wanted to do and sell bricks, et cetera, which we were good enough, you were good enough to give permission to us to do it. And it wasn't on the property, but again, friends of or recreation could take care of it, and we were gonna do that, which would clean up the area in between the football field and the baseball field. So at that point, the original thing we had, we said, but later on, there may be damage to signs. That was the first one we had. The second thing we had on any type of signage, and again, we thought through the memorandum, was to go through the school committee, and that's what we did. The reason we got clarification from town council is that when Dr. Mandel and myself had a discussion on it, he asked me a couple of questions that I didn't know the answer to. Could you not accept the religious, or could you not accept something on tobacco, but accept it on something else? We didn't know that. He said, it'd be good to get town council answer on that, because they've done this before. That's why we went to town council. It was so when we did come before, what we thought was gonna be some type of ad hoc committee, whatever. We knew once we gave you the list, again, it would be to show you what type of signs and where they were gonna go. But the first step is to say, can we do it within what you're so that's the first step. There's nothing other than that.
The memorandum refers to school department policy. And the school department policies that are appropriate are KJ and DFT. The KJ is a public relations advertising, and it's basically a prohibition on advertising. It's been in existence for 22 years, and that it is in fact the school department's policy is reflected in the fact that over those 22 years, there's been a lot of opportunities to advertising for money, which revenue is always nice. But over that 22 years, through numerous school committees and 2 superintendents with substantial knowledge on education, the decision has been reached not to advertise. A few years back, we developed a policy on sponsorships. The concept behind the sponsorships was to try to find smaller operations where it would be supportive of an internal kind of a program. We have a couple of examples: Explorer Vision by Toshiba, Science Olympiad. There's a couple of events that are might be sponsored by Lockheed. The kind of advertising or the kind of display that you would get on a sign associated with those, the kind of a piece of poster board with a name. In fact, Explorer Vision has just that kind of a sign. It's about a 2-foot by 3-foot piece of poster board, Explorer Vision across it, and a little bit of about it, and mentioning Toshiba. Toshiba gained something from that. That's the idea behind that policy on sponsorships. That's what it was intended for. Unfortunately, the town council extended that to basically say that the advertising policy, since it's so old, it really doesn't apply. Well, the fact is that because it's so old, it in fact has precedent in it. It's built right into it. And it's there principally because we've attempted to assure that our students have a commercial-free zone, that when they're learning, in the process of learning, they're very receptive to any kind of input. And national firms pay big money to get into schools. They'd love to see Coca-Cola, Doritos, right here, because this is a learning environment. And when the kids see those things, what they do is they get a long-term product identity and loyalty to the brand. So you can make a lot of money if you advertise in the schools. We decided not to do that because it's a learning environment and we want it to be commercial-free. And that's an important thing for us to have. I understand that, we've got the town council trying to find a way to put up signs and to assist us in.
Cliff, that's not fair. This was a legal interpretation, Cliff.
Exactly.
And you cannot make that claim, and our council confirmed it, Cliff. So
Right.
don't make statements that are untrue,
All right,
which you just did.
that's not so.
And I'm tired of you. You've done this before.
All right, well, the policies are written
don't
in
care.
plain language for ordinary people to understand and intended to provide guidance for the people in the schools and for the board. That's what the policies are written for. They are not intended to be bulletproof legal documents. That's not their intent. It's to provide guidance internally. And it seems to me that what we have is something bizarre going on here, where we are suddenly deciding that advertisements are okay.
This is not about,
Yeah, I'm not gonna participate in this
Coca-Cola
ridiculous
being in the schools. Libby,
No,
I'm getting a
but-
doctorate in maternal
but
and child
when-
health. I don't see where this corporate sponsorship is gonna suddenly, in our schools, appear everywhere. We are not talking about putting signs for
And it's
Coca-Cola.
not even
in
school
the middle
property
school.
anymore.
This is the
Wait,
turf field.
No, don't interrupt, he has the right to finish.
I understand that, but he's also referring to
Please,
policies
you'll get your turn.
Making things
that
up.
You'll
nobody
get your
has.
turn. Go ahead, Glenn.
What we have is to me, a troubling circumstance. And what we need to do is if we intend to advertise, and this is advertising in the schools, if we are saying that it is okay to do this, then let's open it up and put signs for the school, on the school's benefit, along all of the fence lines that we have and in the building, and make some money at it. And that's really what we're up to here, is we're saying that if we take this tack and we advertise, then we are opening advertising within the schools. And I think that that's a bad precedent. I think it's a very bad precedent. I don't get, I'm not anxious to have us open it up and take on advertising in the schools. I think that's a very bad move. I think it's inappropriate. And that's my opinion, and of course, I'm only one member, and I'm gonna get outvoted on this. But I think it's a very bad move to do this. And if I were from the Hillview side, I would be very upset about having sponsorships at anywhere near the field, which implies that somebody sponsored the field when Hillview has really put up the money for the field. That to me would be very inappropriate. If it's the intent of the committee to allow advertising, then I think we need to change the policy to allow advertising. And then it will be consistent, and our policy will match our actions. That to me is not a good move. But that's the way, that looks like that's the way that the committee feels it ought to go. And if that's the case, then they should refer that policy back to the policy subcommittee, and we should make modifications in the policy. I don't know how that affects retroactively the MOU, but it probably works in either direction, so that you made it more strict